Welcome to the Haunted Hangover podcast. I'm Louie, and I'm joined by Chris.
Hello, hello.
And today we're going to be talking / giving our thoughts on the latest installment in the Evil Dead franchise with Evil Dead Rise. Now, gotta give a warning because this shit just dropped. We're gonna definitely be talking spoilers because that's the only way we'll get our
alert follows.
Big, ginormous spoiler alert if you have not seen Evil Dead Rise.
And all I could think about was how much I wanted to cut you all open and then climb inside your bodies so that we could stay one happy family.
All right, Chris, so real quick, the Evil Dead franchise, are you a fan? Big fan? 25% a fan?
Big, huge fan. Own all the Evil Deads. Watch the Evil Dead, Ash vs. Evil Dead, Army of Darkness. I remember playing the old PlayStation 2 Evil Dead game back in the day. Big Evil Dead fan.
Same here. It's one of the first VHS tapes I ever bought on my own, the original Evil Dead. So I, too, am a big Evil Dead fan. Specifically, I tend to veer a little closer to when Evil Dead was more horror than comedy.
Yes.
So I'm a big fan of the first one. And then the second one started getting funnier. And then Army of Darkness is just a comedy, basically. And then so is the TV show.
So is Ash vs. Evil Dead.
Yeah. So, not that I hate the whole one-liner Ash, but it did get a little hokey, but I can still enjoy it for what it is.
Right,
you know what I mean?
I'm with you, though. I like the horror more than the camp aspect of it. I think the later installments are full camp.
Even the 2013 remake had a couple of little campy moments in it.
Yeah.
It goes with the territory. It's fucking Evil Dead. That's just, it always they go hand in hand, just kind of the one-liners, because even in the remake and the new one, there are nods and homages to the original film, which are obviously campy. Now, I know you're a big fan of the 2013 remake. I am too.
I love it. I absolutely love it. One of my favorite. Though I will say, with this new one, I don't know that we can call it a remake so much anymore. I feel and we'll talk about it a little bit more as we go on, but I feel like they're all firmly in the same universe at different points in time.
I read that they're saying now there's 3 books.
Right, which there's a precedent for that in Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, but we've never explored that, and I think now they're kind of exploring it a little bit more, which I like. I dig it. I like that they can do that to make it a universe rather than Avengers style and having, Ash pop up and save the world and all the other Evil Deads. I like it better this way.
I also think it's just a way to not use the word remake or requel where they're all connected. You'll figure it out eventually, even though Evil Dead Rise didn't feel that connected to any of the previous installments. Yeah, and so was the remake. It felt standalone, but it felt like Evil Dead because it was set in a cabin with young people, the Book of the Dead, Deadites, and all that stuff. So again, that's kind of the formula for the franchise. And when I heard about Evil Dead Rise, it was a breath of fresh air just seeing it set in an apartment building, in a high-rise apartment building in California, or L.A., I believe, right? It's supposed to be L.A. or...
some part of California.
It's a little ambiguous, which they did on purpose because, honestly, a lot of that apartment building feels like a Australia. Set. Well, it also feels like a set, too. It doesn't even feel like a real building, except for, the wide shot you get outside. But a quick kind of synopsis. Evil Dead Rise follows Beth, I believe is her name, who's a groupie. That's kind of the ongoing gag in the movie. She's actually a guitar tech. She's a traveling guitar tech.
Right. She's not a groupie. She's a guitar tech.
She's not, yeah. And she finds out that she's pregnant. literally the film basically, I do want to talk about, but I want to save that for the end, the bookend portions of the movie.
Yes.
But for the most part, the main narrative is Beth finding out she's pregnant in this gross ass bathroom. And
disgusting.
Yeah.
Fucking disgusting.
and she's like on the toilet using a what's it called?
Pregnancy test.
Pregnancy test.
Hepatitis.
Yes, whatever. Yes. And she basically wants the help of her older sister to kind of get through it. You get the sense that the two of them are very close and, they kind of rely on each other. Good relationship.
Yeah.
And her older sister's name is Ellie, and she recently is going through a separation with her husband. Mm-hmm. Not a divorce, more so just kind of like he left them. And she's got 3 kids, like two teenage age kids and like a little 9-year-old daughter. So it's like, I believe it's a daughter, and a son, but that actor is trans, correct?
Sure.
I believe so. Don't quote me on that.
I will say, like, I'm not trying to sound
like ignorant either.
It took me a while to suss it out.
I believe that actor Dan
portrayed as
the son.
Dan,
they never say son
as a son, right? They just say that
Dan.
They don't.
They never
Daniela,
say son in the
Daniel.
film.
Right.
So you've got you've got Ellie, her 3 kids. You've got Beth and her recent fucking discovery of being pregnant. And long story short, Dan, after an earthquake happens, and the sisters are kind of going back and forth about their personal issues and how they're going to help each other. This earthquake randomly happens, not triggered by the Necronomicon, by the way. It's just California.
Just an earthquake. Yeah.
Just an earthquake. Bad luck. And Dan finds the Necronomicon, or a version of the Necronomicon, in a hole that leads to like a vault downstairs. And there's
because the building was an old bank. That was the whole thing. And the building is, at this point, largely empty because it's condemned and everybody's got to move out. They're going to tear it down, They're going to tear it down, and the family is kind of down on their luck, and Beth shows up.
Yeah, and Dan finds the Necronomicon and a bunch of records, like vinyl records, and plays these records, which trigger incantations and kind of the history of the Necronomicon. And that's what, in a nutshell, causes his I'm going to say he or their mother to get possessed by this demon and become a deadite. Now, if you're familiar,
first deadite in the film,
the first, and I would say the main deadite,
the primary deadite,
the antagonist of the main antagonist of this film is Ellie possessed as a deadite. I would say that.
Titty sucking parasites.
Yes, that's a great one-liner she's got, which is pretty.
My favorite new insult is titty sucking parasites.
Yeah, I know. So, dude, I'm gonna be honest. I'll say it right now. She is Ellie. Alyssa Sutherland is the actress that portrays her. Is phenomenal in this movie.
She is. She's great. She's awesome.
Before she's possessed and when she's dead and possessed and a deadite, I thought she was great. Insanely creepy. That smile with the corroded teeth and all the scarring.
There was something about her look that just worked well as a deadite. Like her face in general was very expressive. I loved it.
And I see why all the promotional material, the poster, the trailer spoiled that she becomes. Because even on the poster, it's like mother will love you to death or mommy loves you to death. Yeah. Like they basically spoiled it that the mother is the main bad guy in this movie. She's the big bad of the film. And basically the rest of the film is kind of standard Evil Dead stuff. Each member of this family, because the older siblings become deadites as well. I think the one daughter with the short hair, I think her name was Bridget, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
She gets, possessed because usually in Evil Dead, if the person is injured or blood or something, for the most part, that's kind of, that's what
triggers it.
That's kind of the way it's, I guess, like the transmitted basically between people. Is like they're injured. So she becomes a deadite, and then Dan becomes a deadite, and Beth and the younger daughter, Cassie, have to survive. And Beth...
And there's some cannon fodder deadites along the way, too. Like, a couple of the other remaining neighbors that are killed.
All the underdeveloped characters that live on the same floor.
Couldn't tell you a single other character's name.
Because in reality, it's not the entire building that's dealing with this. It's just their floor.
Right. The elevator's out. The stairs are gone from the earthquake. It's just their floor.
And they're on the 13th floor. No way to get down. So, and the fire escape is out of commission, and they have no cell phones because of the earthquake. All very convenient. But it works in an Evil Dead film. Beth and Cassie have to fight to survive. They're trying to get downstairs to the garage to get into the car and get the hell out of there. You know, Beth finds a shotgun because you don't have an Evil Dead.
She's a badass final girl.
She is. I did like her in this movie. I thought she was cool. I wish we got to know her a little more.
Yeah, I mean, she's super hot. I'll say that right off the top.
She's a babe, respectfully.
The mom and the babe, respectfully. The mom and the sister, babes, respectfully.
Babes, respectfully. But she's good. Like I enjoyed her kind of forced into being a mother before she gives birth to her unborn child. Yeah. And how that kind of comes into play with Ellie, the possessed Ellie, knowing like, oh, you know, your soul, I will swallow your soul, both of them, because she knows that she's pregnant currently. But for the most part, like I said, it's standard Evil Dead stuff. She gets a shotgun.
Yeah, nothing out of the ordinary. Yeah, gets a shotgun, gets a chainsaw.
Ellie and her two children become this like thing type character that's all like their limbs kind of mushed together and they run around.
Yeah, the only way I would best describe that thing was like, remember in The Last of Us Part 2, you fight that like giant rat king thing, like that's basically what this thing reminded me of.
This big gross thing of flesh,
an amalgamation of flesh,
and
which I thought was kind of cool. It was a cool like final boss kind of thing,
and it looked practical for the most part. Like they were able to,
I think so,
maybe a little bit of CGI when they show their heads, but you could tell they shot it in a way where it was like, all right, this is like Ellie's head, this is Dan's head, this is Bridget's head, and you know they would get shots of each one of them talking. But what basically happened is, again, Beth eventually gets her hand on a chainsaw, because that too, you need to have a chainsaw in every Evil Dead movie. That's important, and she fights this, this demon creature of her entire family, basically.
Deadite monster thing.
Lots of blood, rains blood, basically, again, this time not from the sky, just from a wood chipper, which I thought was funny. And they survive at the end. Her and her niece, they leave, and who knows if we'll ever see them again, because we did not see Mia from 2013, the remake, ever again. So that's basically Evil Dead Rise in a nutshell. Now, there is a bookend situation in this movie, and I'll be very honest, it's probably my least favorite thing about the movie. Yeah. It felt tacked on and unnecessary. Like, I was thinking about it. I was like, what would have worked in this? So what happens is you've got basically Evil Dead. There's these young people at a camp, or at a cabin, I should say.
At a cabin, yeah.
And one of them is possessed, and she becomes a deadite and kills her two friends. And there is a cool shot of her scalp off.
Off. That's pretty cool.
There is a cool shot of her rising out of the water, and then the title card. Yeah,
that was cool. I love that.
It was a cool visual. But I will be honest, because the film ends showing how that girl got possessed by a deadite.
Right. So the whole movie took place a day earlier than the opening sequence.
I didn't care for that shit, dude. I
don't think it was necessary.
It felt a little out of place. And now,
what I will say, what would have made it a better ending was, like, to tie that in, would be if Beth and, what was the little girl's name? Cassie. If Beth and Cassie didn't survive. So, like, everyone in the building eventually gets caught up by possessed. This deadite thing.
Yeah.
Right. That would have made it a little bit more succinct and, like, tied it in a little bit better. But it was just, like, I guess they just wanted that, like, end credit scream thing
It was a way, I guess. It felt almost like reshoots. Like they shot that because they needed something. Because the 2013, well, it's not a remake technically, I guess, right? Now it's in the same universe.
2013 version
starts with the people that were previously in the cabin and why the book is there. Right. I feel like this could have utilized those characters those priests that are on the record, and maybe start the film with them hiding the book in the vault or whatever in the bottom of this building. Yeah, I don't know. It felt tacked on. It felt kind of out of place. I was like, all right, this doesn't really fit the rest of the film. Oh, she lives in the building, the girl at the end, we find out, and that's it.
It's strange, and I get it, like 13th floor to the 6th floor. Yeah, that's a long distance. You're not necessarily going to hear what's going on, but it's kind of weird that she didn't realize any of it until she got down into the basement and,
we both live in New York and in big cities, and no apartment building is there not someone going up and down at some point in the night. So it's just it was, again, suspension of disbelief because it's a fucking horror movie, and I love Evil Dead, but I just thought it was just
least favorite thing of the movie.
It felt like it was a reshoot. Like maybe the studio felt like the movie needed something. Like
the movie was originally going to just be an HBO Max movie, right? So that could very well have been like, oh, hey, we're getting theatrical. We need something else here,
Yeah, it's. I get what they were going for, but I just feel like they could have done a better job with it overall. Something else that I think they did a great job, and it, again, goes hand in hand with Evil Dead, all the gore, like phenomenal.
Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. I will say
that cheese grater,
this is
dude.
One movie. Oh, God, fucking A, the cheese grater. This is one movie where, like, and I'm sure there's other ones that I'm just not thinking of right now, but this movie was very mean to children, and you don't really get that a lot in horror movies. They always like kind of straddle the line and the kids get away, but like you had two like young teenage kids getting fucking brutalized and like
dude, set on fire.
They obviously didn't go all the way and like kill the kid, like the little girl, they got the Staffany, which I want a fucking Staffany. I really want a Staffany.
That was really cool. I wish they would have made that kind of like the main weapon Beth uses, but instead it was Cassie used it. It was Cassie, right, that used it in the movie.
Right.
So to me, when I was watching it, that was my concern. I was like, fuck, this whole family's going to survive, aren't they? Like all three kids and Beth. So I was happy to see that they took some risk and were like, all right, we're going to kill.
Absolutely.
Because the Bridget girl looks like she's maybe 13 years old or something like that.
She's a younger kid.
13, 14.
The Danny character's got to be a little bit older.
17. You can that. Probably the actor maybe like 20 years old. Right. Yeah.
But the other kid is like maybe 13 years old. And
maybe 14,
They kind of get more of the worst of it outside of of the two characters. Like
the black shit coming out of the eyes and
chewing on the wine glass. Like
it was gnarly.
Yeah, real gnarly stuff. That's what it was. And I appreciated it though.
Yeah. No, and I dug that. I was concerned. I was like, oh man, so they introduced all these neighbors just so they can be slaughtered so that the family could survive. But no, when I saw they were getting possessed, I was like, awesome. Fucking murder.
Loved it. Let's do it.
Evil Dead is about being basically confined to one space and trying to survive. And in this case, it was an apartment. So I like that. And the demon was still able to get into the apartment and possess them. So I enjoy that. And then Ellie is obviously trying to break in and fucking kill her whole family.
Get rid of those titty sucking parasites, man. Gotta get rid of them.
The titty sucking. That was a crazy line.
It's honestly my favorite fucking line in a movie in recent memory.
So I didn't even read trivia, and just being obviously a big horror fan, big Evil Dead fan, I noticed a bunch of little Easter eggs like Henrietta's pizza.
They're all over the place.
The pizza is Henrietta from Evil Dead 2.
Yes.
Apparently,
there's the
Bruce
eyeball
Campbell,
tracking as it goes into the kid's mouth.
The kid's mouth, which is what kills him. He chokes on an eyeball.
Yeah, he chokes on an eyeball.
Yeah. Bruce Campbell apparently is one of the voices on the vinyl.
Yes.
Who says destroy it or something?
Yes. There's like a sequence of all the priests yelling at the other priest, and Bruce Campbell was in there somewhere, which makes sense. He's got to be in it somewhere.
They had to squeeze him in. He's always a producer on these things. He's so important to the franchise that he'll always there'll always be an homage paid to him. The Buick, she drives a Buick, but it's a station wagon, not like the same type of car Ash drove.
Right.
There was a bunch. Beth literally says, "Come get some," to the Ellie family demonic monster thing. She literally says, "Come get some." I was worried that they were going to have her say groovy. And I was like, all right, that would have been cringy because it would not have fit the tone of the film. But "Come get some" works because Beth felt like a badass character. And it made sense for her at that point to kind of, spot off one
I saw
line.
online, which like might be a little bit more of a stretch, is the wood chipper construction truck has the word Fonda on it. And people are saying that that's because Bridget Fonda plays the girlfriend in the flashbacks in Army of Darkness.
Army of Darkness, yeah.
A little bit of a stretch, maybe. Who knows? I don't know.
Possibly. That's a big.
I was reading
that
they used 1,700 gallons of fake blood for this movie, and it shows. It shows.
It's funny. I feel like where's this franchise going? They just want to have like pretty women covered in blood, destroying a monster with a chainsaw. Because literally the 2013 film has Mia, who is also respectfully a very attractive woman.
A babe,
cutting the evil possessed version of herself in half with blood pouring on her. And then in this movie, rain of blood. And then in this movie, you've got Beth with a chainsaw cutting the fucking head off of her sister, that demonic thing, while it's in a wood chipper, and blood is just raining on her, and she's
completely
covered
drenched
in blood.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I guess that's where we're
Evil
going.
Dead now, yeah.
There's someone out there with that fetish. I like my ladies covered in blood. That's basically
that's it. There's an audience.
Was there anything else that you didn't like about this movie? Anything you just disliked besides?
No, the bookend stuff was kind of my least favorite thing about it. Other than that, I enjoyed the hell out of it. I would say that for me personally, I might still give the edge to the 2013 version.
I agree with that.
Felt like not that I didn't like the characters in this one, but I felt, I don't know, I guess a little more connected to the 2013 characters. I felt like they had a little bit more depth to them. Whereas like Beth had some great depth in this, and so did the mom.
Yeah.
The other characters, there was a little bit like lack of depth to them, so you don't really care what's happening with them.
You cared more about Mia and I don't want to get into that one in case we ever cover, which I would like to do. I think you'd be. I think you and I could do the series some justice in the future and maybe cover all the films on Patreon or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could agree with that. That was the first thing I said to the wife. I looked over it and I was like, I still like 2013 better.
Yeah,
I think it's
agree.
a better.
I agree.
It's a better. It was.
I actually rewatched
a better
it
movie.
The
it even
day
looked.
After.
It looked better. It was a better.
Well, this one again,
like
it looked a little cheaper because it was made for HBO Max initially, and then got the theatrical, and it's as of this recording, making fucking bank. Like it's made like $40 million this weekend, so it's inevitable that we're gonna get another Evil Dead down the line somewhere.
We have another woman, an attractive woman, getting covered in blood and decapitating a creature. That we got. Got something to look.
Mia and Beth are gonna meet up with big old man Bruce Campbell with his chainsaw hand. And that's it. They're gonna make the final like Evil Dead Avengers or some shit.
Dude, if they make a movie where like all three of them have to like destroy all three books, that would be fucking epic.
There's certainly a place that the story could go where that happens. I'm sure that absolutely.
For sure. Any closing thoughts on Evil Dead Rise?
No, go see it. If you haven't seen it, go see it. It's fucking fun.
This is what I'll say. And I feel like you can't say this about a lot of franchise, but I'm confident in saying there is not a bad Evil Dead anything. No. Evil Dead 1, amazing. Evil Dead 2, amazing. Army of Darkness is a lot of fun. The remake is phenomenal. The TV show is a lot of fun. The games, the old games were a blast. I play the new game, the asymmetrical horror Evil Dead game, and it is a great time. I don't think it's possible, maybe, it hasn't happened yet, to make a terrible, not entertaining Evil Dead film.
It would have to shit the bed in a lot of ways to be terrible, you know?
Yeah.
Like I don't know that it's possible. It's a formula that works, and I think that's why it's lasted so long. You know, like we're 40 years now past the original. Like there's a way to make it work, and clearly they prove it by doing remakes and reboots and kind of sequels and sort of sequels. And now there's 3 books out there. We know that. And there's 3 main characters that have survived 3 books. So, like, let's do something with that.
Yeah. And I think that's what I took away from this movie. I was like, you can't make a shitty Evil Dead movie.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't. Yeah. Like, some are better than others. But at the end of the day, they're all fun. You always have a good time watching them.
They're crowd pleasers. Like they demand to be seen in a theater with a great crowd because there's like shit where an audience is gonna audibly react or viscerally react, like a fucking cheese grater to the leg. The audience that I saw it with was all like, ugh! Like,
yeah.
That's what these movies have going for them, and that's cool.
No, I totally agree. And I look forward to where they take this series next because I have no idea.
Everybody here dies by dawn, Dad.
So those were our thoughts on Evil Dead Rise. Be sure to subscribe. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at Haunted Hangover. Check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/hauntedhangover31.
And if you titty-sucking parasites can rate and review us, that would be greatly appreciated.
And as always, remember, the best cure for a hangover is...
more booze.
Catch you guys later.